Alright boys, they say never count your chickens before they hatch. This is still technically an egg, but fucking miracle, dude. So we're running these settings. Just want to get them all. You can see these. Right. Voltages are running 1.5 volts. Running at 40 degrees. It's about 13C right now. Same IMC voltages we were running before. Almost the same. A little bit different. To explain what happened here, I shall explain in a short while. But yeah, let me just save this real quick when this finishes testing. Alright guys, so what are you looking at right now? Well, quite simply put, this was quite a learning experience. Now, I don't know if this is related to me messing around with settings. Obviously, you know that I went back and tested more stuff out because I'm an overclocker and I like maxing out my stuff. So I was obviously testing out different configurations, different speeds. 7200 did boot for sure. 1T, different speeds, voltages. And I came to the point this morning where my 7000 that I showed on the video no longer was stable, and I didn't quite understand why this would be. I tried the CPU overclock just to check if that was why the games are crashing. Nope, that was stable. It wasn't the GPU OC, it was nothing. Went back to TestMem5 and Karu, and guess what? I find errors. So I have spent the last, I don't know how many hours now, bashing my head against the wall trying to problem solve this shit. And I came to find that the reason why this more than likely was happening was heat. So as you can see right now, the ambient is 13C, like I mentioned in that small clip I had earlier on my cell phone. And when these tests were done initially, the 7000 test, I believe it must have been like 6C, but I do know it was extremely cold. It was like 6 a.m. Not that it's late now. It's quite well. Not that it's not late now. It is quite late in the evening and stuff. It's like maybe 12 right now. But back when that test was done, like that stress test was done, it was just really cold, and the dims never went above 34C. As you can see, this is a bug. You could see when it was running in the video that it was running like 41C, and that was pretty much where it stayed. It never went above 41C. Now, similarly, for the other overclock, it was like 34C. It was very cold. Now, what I came to find was messing with tertiaries and secondaries. The TWRRDs ended up getting tighter. Well, not that they could be tightened. It's more that they weren't the issue initially. That I set them too high initially. I made TRFC per bank 315 because 315 means that if you do the equation, it's 90 nanoseconds of TRFC per bank. So it's 90 nanoseconds it would like take for the refresh, which is a bit longer than like 78 or whatever it was when it was like 290. 290 seems like it was a bit too low. And that's not because like that's to do with like voltage supply allowance and heat mainly. As you can see, the voltage actually decreased, so we're now at 1.5 volts doing 7000. Very interesting. I'm now at 1.5 volts, and you can see that TRFI is extremely low. Why is that? Because when you have a lot of heat in the system compared to a previous test, whatever, the more warm you are testing RAM, the more susceptible you are to errors, or I guess more accurately, when the data is inside the RAM cell, if TRFI's refresh interval is too long, like too delayed, like there's too few refreshes within a second, because obviously there's like right now we're at like 3.5 billion clock cycles per second. If there's too few refreshes in that period, you're going to lose data, because the warmer the RAM gets, especially when RAM runs faster, it runs warmer. The warmer the environment is, the more electrical resistance there is inside the RAM cell, the more voltage required to actually keep that data the integrity. Like it requires more voltage to keep the data actually like there in the cell. Now, the thing is, when like with DDR5, for some reason you can't like scale voltage to just like throw it at the problem. So you can't really like add more voltage and make it more stable. Like I found that more voltage made this less stable. I actually got this stable by decreasing the voltage. Like I walked VDD down from it was like 1.55. I was like, what are the odds 1.53 better? 1.53 is slightly better. I was like, weird. What if the odds 1.5 would be perfect? And this was the result. That there's no way that's a coincidence. Like this happened because of 1.5 volts. Now, I also changed TM5's config file a bit because I wanted it to be more thorough. So I had to do each test instead of 500% coverage on each test. I made it 100% coverage on each test, and then I increased the cycle time from 3 to 10 cycles because I wanted it to finish more tests. So just do more memory operations, and yeah, this passed. So I'm hoping that 10 cycles means that this is stable. Because I mean, I'm talking like you would go from like not passing a single cycle to now 10 cycles. Obviously 10 shorter cycles, but 10 cycles regardless. Hopefully this is finally stable. I'm probably not gonna mess around with this for a while now because this is pretty fucking sharp, to be honest. Like 7,000 at 1.5 volts is pretty sick. I'm not gonna bother benchmarking because this should be slower inherently just due to the fact that TRFC per bank, which is a very important timing, is a lot higher, and TRFI is a lot lower, which is also a very important timing. Probably these two are some of the most important timings. TRDL is also up one pacing, unfortunately. These two are lower, but they're really insignificantly lower, so this should definitely perform slower. So assume like I've lost like 1%, maybe 2% of performance, but whatever. It's stable now, so hopefully that is that. But yeah, that's DDR5 is tricky, man. If it gets too warm, depending on the IC quality, you're gonna error. So you have to be really careful. But I think 49,000 T-Refi should hopefully save me from future errors. But that remains to be seen. So that's all for this one, guys.